You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And this is our pick show for Week 10. How did we get to Week 10 already, Boyd?
I don't know. We only have 7 weeks left. Blows.
It does blow. But
I guess we have 8. Don't we have 8? Don't they do 17 weeks?
Yeah, they do 17 weeks.
Okay, we got 8 weeks left.
And then we got playoffs, which is always a blast.
Yes.
But we have talked about last week's games. It's on our recap show, so check that out. This is the pick show, so let's get right to it.
Let's do it.
Okay, the Thursday night game is Cleveland +6 at Cincinnati.
We don't bet Thursday games anymore, so
no,
we won't be betting on this one. And oh man, I think I'm taking Cincinnati. It always favors the home team. These quick turnaround, even though they're a couple of 100 miles apart, I'm still taking Cincinnati.
Cincinnati's a much better football team. Like, they're not a great football team, but the feel-good story that is Cleveland, they're not good.
No.
They're nowhere near as good as their record would lead you to believe. They lost outright to Jacksonville. They got a nice explosion of luck late to beat the Raiders, and they had a lot of trouble controlling a Tampa Bay team. I don't think Cleveland is a particularly good football team.
The defense isn't bad. It's Hoyer has looked like shit the last 3 weeks.
Yes. And at this stage of Cleveland, and here's where the record is hurting them, is because Hoyer has won these games, and a win's a win. I'm not taking that away from him. But he hasn't been good, and because their record is respectable, they're not seeing what they have with Johnny Football.
Yeah, but you don't want to see.
But you got to find out. You got to find out. I tend to agree with you. I think you're right. Our opinions are complementary there, but I think he would have been in if they were, a 500 club or less. I really don't think they're a particularly good football team, so I'm down on Cincinnati.
Yeah, and as much as Hoyer sucked in Jacksonville, I don't even think Manziel warmed up. I don't think they think he's ready at all to take over a team. Unless they lose 4 or 5 in a row and are out of it, we're not seeing Manziel this year. Cleveland has been starving for a team just to be 500, just to be in contention for them is huge right now. Hoyer's not coming out as long as they're winning.
And I don't think that helps the football team. Whether Manziel would help, probably not. But, you know me, it's about information sometimes too, right?
Yeah,
I really think Cleveland is about 2 to 3 wins worse than their record.
Yeah, but when you're a game out of first place, you're not putting a rookie quarterback in.
Oh, I understand why they're making the decision. That's why my point was that their record could end up hurting the football team.
I don't think so, because I don't think Manziel will ever be that guy. Whether you put him in now or next year to find out.
Yeah, well, but you could find out this year and then make further plans. Hoyer's kind of like what we discussed about Fitzgerald. I think he's got a successful career ahead of him as a backup to a good quarterback.
And the thing is, Hoyer is going to be restricted, I believe, this offseason.
Oh, really? And so they have to franchise him?
They won't franchise them, but they're in no rush to re-sign him. So they're going to let this play out, and I don't think it's a bad thing for a rookie quarterback that played in one of those high-octane offenses in college.
With a lot of freelancing?
Yes, to have a year. It didn't hurt Steve McNair.
No, I don't think. I still like the whole year. I mean, I had Rivers on the sideline for 2 years.
Did it hurt Aaron Rodgers? Nobody talks about it, but it helped.
Absolutely. No, I'm with you, but
So
we're both on Cincy in that game,
Yes.
but we're not betting it. Next game up, Atlanta -1 at Tampa Bay.
it's now -1.5.
Okay.
Now, there might be a quarterback switch in Tampa Bay. There's rumblings of that. They might be going
That's
back to the
just foolish.
Cade McCown era.
No, Josh.
Josh McCown. Cade. Fuck, that was like 10 years ago from UCLA to the Bears. Yeah, I can remember that, but I can't remember the defensive lineman from Detroit that was smoking weed in his hotel room.
I think it was C.J. Mosley. I do think
Last
you were
week.
right. But
This is two shitty football teams, both going nowhere. Falcons are going to fire their coach at the end of the year. Tampa Bay won't because they just hired Lovie Smith, and they're still paying the other idiot. Oh, fuck. See? I can do a callback to a quarterback from 10 years ago, but not the fucking coach. Yeah, Greg Schiano. So they're still paying him, so they're not firing Lovie Smith, although nothing's really changed. Atlanta beat them by 40 6 weeks ago. And for that reason, and that reason alone, I'm taking Atlanta.
okay. I almost think this is a tough board again this week. I like Atlanta too. They're a bad football team, but they're not nearly as bad as Tampa Bay. Atlanta's biggest problem is their defense. Tampa Bay's pretty weaponless. The one... Okay, and now I'm having a moment like you. Who is it? Gerald McCoy, defensive lineman for Tampa, didn't play in the first game.
Yeah.
That could change things slightly. I wouldn't mind keeping this in the mix. I think Atlanta's better. It is the two shitty football teams, but we're both on Atlanta. We can come back to it. I would love to find something better, but I don't hate the game.
No, we'll keep it in the mix.
Okay. Next up, we have Dallas at Jacksonville. The game is off the board, and it's being played in London. That should say it all.
Yeah. And Tony Romo said his back was okay after the flight, but still limited in practice. I would bet on him not playing, and Dallas hoping they can squeak out a win with Whedon. They have a bye week after this, which every team does coming back from London. So
I would like to see Dallas do the smart thing and rest him this week. If you can't beat Jacksonville with Whedon, why is Whedon on your payroll?
Yeah.
And we talked about it a bit in our power rankings. A mobile Romo is vital to him being Romo.
Yes.
And why rush him back? Jacksonville, strangely enough, can rush the passer. They've got a good pass rush. So you'd be exposing him to harm. I see a lot of risk and very little reward. And again, if Whedon can't beat Jacksonville on a neutral field, why is he on your payroll at all?
And Dallas still has Philly twice.
Oh, yeah.
And that's who they're chasing for the division.
Two good teams in the NFC East, which is something we haven't said a lot since we started the podcast.
Those games are more important. You need Romo in those games more than you do against Jackson. Even if they lose, even if somehow they lost to Jacksonville with Whedon starting, you still need. I'm still for it because you need Romo. They'd only be 2 games behind in the division, with 2 games against Philly still to play. And you need Romo more in those games than him getting hurt now and being out for 6 weeks. So
I agree. That said, Jason Garrett, who I believe is an abomination as a human being and a coach, and Jerry Jones,
as
the
a human being,
glory hole fanatic,
is a stretch.
After he sabotaged Wade Phillips, as offensive coordinator to get this job.
Wade Phillips is not good as a coach.
No, he's not any good, but
coach.
suddenly the offense looked a lot better as soon as he took over as interim coach. And he was offensive coordinator beforehand. Suddenly he had an epiphany and he had good ideas? I don't like that guy. So they'll sacrifice Romo if they feel like it. So I think Dallas should sit Romo. We're both on Dallas. I just have sort of a fun game. This will probably get a line before the end of the week. Why don't we pick the line?
Okay.
And we can pick two. We can pick if Whedon's going and if Romo is going. Just our predictions.
If Romo starts, it's 9.
Okay.
If Whedon starts, it's 5.
That's really close. I went with Romo at 10. And I went with Whedon at 3.
No, it'll be more than 3 because just like Simmons and Sal talk about, it's the Vegas zone. They'll put it in the Vegas zone.
Okay. Yeah, you could be right. I just thought that would be fun for the off game, which I do think will get a real line because London is mad for sports gambling. They're not going to let the London
by the end of the
game
week
come without a line.
There'll probably be a lineup Thursday.
Yeah, even if Jones says once again it's a game time decision, there will be a line because London loves to bet.
Yes.
All right, next game up. KC -2 traveling to Buffalo. Really intriguing game.
Yes.
Not so much for betting.
Well, I wouldn't mind betting this.
Okay. Who do you like?
Even though Kansas City.
I'm leaning that way, but I have a lot of respect for Buffalo as a team, too.
I do, too, but Kyle Orton. The only thing that scares me with Buffalo is Sammy Watkins. Nobody's been able to cover the fucking guy. And he could be the difference in that game. He was the reason they beat Minnesota in a squeaker.
Yeah. And Detroit.
Yeah.
Even more importantly, Detroit. He made 2 highlight of the year catches in that one game alone. The dude is amazing.
But I will say this, they had no Calvin Johnson in Detroit that game either.
And they missed 3 field goals.
Yeah.
No, I this is definitely in the mix, and I'm with you on KC.
It's a weird number, though, on the spread.
It really
they're
is.
Like -115, and it's only 2 points. You'd expect to see that at like 5, at -115 or 6. But I guess they're taking into account the automatic 3 points Buffalo gets for being at home.
Yeah, I worry.
They have no
My
passing
big worry
game.
is, am I overrating KC? I like KC a lot, and I'm starting to wonder, am I just seeing stuff that isn't there? When we talked about it on our last podcast, KC's got no wideouts.
But after that opening season loss to Tennessee, they lost to Denver, and that game went down to the wire.
Game, by the way.
Yeah, they went down to the wire. They had a chance at the goal line to tie it in the 4th.
Yeah.
At the end of the game.
I think Alex Smith is playing really well. He's playing exactly to the
same
level
as he did last
should
year.
Be. Yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of big mistakes. Is consistent enough for what they need to do. Jamal Charles is running for 4.5 yards a carry.
You know, I'm liking this more and more.
And Niles Davis. But can they cover Sammy Watkins?
No, but it's the pass rush. If you can get on Orton,
yeah,
he will start to fuck up. He's still Kyle Orton. No, I'm liking this more and more. It's definitely in the mix. And I think it's a strong contender in the mix.
And I'm betting against myself if we end up with this game because I have Buffalo with the pizza boy.
Okay.
And I'm still advocating for KC. So, but I let him pick the first game. So
well, we can.
And there was only 2 games that were even worth because we don't play the spread. So we look for evenly matched games without even looking at the spread. So This was one of them, and Miami-Detroit's the other.
Okay.
And I have Detroit in that one.
Okay, it's definitely in the mix.
Yes.
And speaking of Miami-Detroit, that is the next game up. Miami is +3 at Detroit.
I don't want to bet on this game.
I watch this game, but I do not want to bet on this game.
Yeah, this will be I'll be switching between Tennessee, Miami, Detroit, and Buffalo on the early games.
Yep.
Those are going to be my games. So, this will determine a lot. Because if Miami beats Detroit, I could see Miami moving into my top 5 and Detroit falling out.
Yeah, I agree. The Fairley injury really worries me for reasons we discussed in the last pod. That said, teams coming off a shutout tend to be flat.
Yeah. On the road, they have a good pass rush. Detroit has been getting a lot of production out of their 2 running backs not named Reggie Bush. Theo Reddick has been catching the ball great out of the backfield. They have Joik Bell.
I think Joik Bell's a very underrated running back.
Well, you just don't hear about him because of Megatron and Stafford.
And they also have Bush there. People talk more about Bush even if Bush is on the sidelines and Bell is running the ball.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Joik Bell. Right now, I'm going to reluctantly take Detroit in this game.
I'm taking Detroit just because they're at home. And Calvin Johnson's coming back. And they're coming off a bye week. Which is always a good thing. Let's hope
Calvin Johnson does well. I think this is going to be a really physical
This is the biggest test for Miami.
I don't see either of these quarterbacks getting a lot of time, but if Miami's O-line holds up well, I don't think Detroit's secondary can hold up. This is a strong candidate for me switching late in the week.
Yes, and if anybody's following our picks challenge, I did switch to Arizona once Romo was ruled out.
Good call.
So, yeah.
All right. Next game up, we have Pittsburgh -4.5 at the Jets.
Okay. Can you tell me? I've said this almost every week at one game. How is this 4.5? How? They're 1-8.
With a secondary that's terrible.
And coming against a team that's put up 100 points in the last 2 weeks.
Well, obviously, Roethlisberger is not going to throw for 6 this week.
But how are they covering those wideouts in Pittsburgh?
Baltimore, I have no idea.
They dismantled fucking Baltimore.
And Le'Veon Bell is not playing poorly either. Le'Veon Bell, sorry, my pronunciation. But I don't understand this line at all.
And it started, I don't know what Cousin Sal and Simmons are listening to or looking at their spreads. It started at 2.5.
I actually looked that up on a point spread tracking website.
Yeah.
It did. It started as low as 2 at a lot of places on the strip.
How? Fuck. I know we don't like betting with the public, but I can't see how we don't bet on this game.
I'm with you. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I know Pittsburgh's defense is not good.
Yeah, but the Jets scored
when you
10 points last week.
Oh, I know. They'll probably score 17. Do you think Pittsburgh can't put up 22? Especially if they abandon the run early and just start chucking, because the Jets secondary is atrocious.
Now, I do think I saw this, though. Polamalu's out, is he not?
Yeah, he's been nothing, though. this might be the best thing. Even when he went out in the Baltimore game last week, I said to Shelley, this could be good, though it's like a third string. Obviously, they didn't have anyone waiting in the wings. But based on Polamalu's play this year, he's got to be replaceable. He has not been good. Another guy whose name is much better than his production at this stage.
Yeah. Okay,
but they did replace him with like an undrafted third-round pick, so Shelley was going,
yeah, but it's Michael Vick. And Eric Decker's the best receiving threat they have.
Harvin actually had a good game last week.
Yeah, but 10 points.
All right,
in
would you like
City.
to translate that into language?
I'm speaking in tongues.
Okay, I enjoyed it, but
10 points in Kansas City.
Well, but right
Vic
now I'm at this
got-
stage.
Vic
Like,
got
this number
knocked out.
seems fucked to me.
I'm not
But the
overthinking
last time
this.
we really said this was Green Bay, New Orleans, and we got our asses handed to us on that game.
Yeah, but Rivers got hurt. It was a 16-16 game. And at the half, we were covering. We had Green Bay +1. And then Rivers pulled his hamstring and said it didn't affect him, and his quarterback rating went there. Rogers' quarterback rating went in the toilet.
That is very true, and I brought up exactly that stat a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
No, you're right. This one's definitely in the mix and is a probable bet.
This is a fucking bet. Don't tease it. We're betting on this fucking game.
Well, let's see. We've already got a few out there now, so.
No, we've got one.
True. Okay, the next game up is San Fran +4.5 at New Orleans.
I wouldn't mind this in the mix either.
New Orleans, I'm assuming?
Yes. San Fran's in disarray. Their offense is abysmal. Even though this is the best receiving core that fucking the Niners have had. They're all healthy. They're not running the ball. But every time we count San Francisco out, now Frank Gore will get the ball 24 times on Sunday. And they'll go back to what wins. Run the ball, pass periodically.
Yep. I mean, I'm allowed my 10 seconds of Kaepernick hate. But you're right. I mean, he's got all his receivers, and he's just not a good quarterback.
And can
He's
I say
a fine
this, though?
running back.
Yes, but can I say this? I still cannot see where he fumbled there.
The last anyone saw the ball, it was bouncing around. You can see that on the video. The ball is loose and bouncing around.
Before he hit the ground?
Well, it's tough to say, but the last you see the ball, it's bouncing around and it's not in his hands.
No, I know, but it only has to break the plane.
No, but you never see it break the plane. But you do see, well, he fumbled the snap to begin with. So he never handed it. His argument is that he picked it up and then broke the plane and could see into the end zone.
That's what it looked like to me.
That's not a valid argument.
No, but that's what it looked like to me. Is that he had
that
the ball.
might have been what happened. I had this discussion with Kelly Monday night, who's a Niners fan. He's going, he's probably right, but there's absolutely no way you can prove that.
No, but I don't know how they could prove a fumble.
Because the ball was bouncing around when he was laying in the pile. You
Yeah.
can see the ball bouncing around, not in the possession of anyone. You can see that, trust me. You absolutely can see that the ball is loose in that pile.
And not saying they deserve to win the game or anything, but calls like that drive me nuts.
It's a tough call, but here's the
When
thing.
there's-
At this point, we have to trust the people who are actually watching it.
No, I know, but it just comes down to the call on the field. If they would have called it on the field a touchdown, it's a touchdown. Because they wouldn't have had evidence to overturn it.
Yeah, but again, the only time I saw the ball,
That's what bugs me
in
about
all the
replay.
angles I saw, was you never saw the ball cross the plane. The only time you saw the ball in that shit show, it was bouncing around loose.
I know,
so,
but in every one of those,
preponderance of evidence, let's call it.
in every one of those, they don't have when the big pile, you never see it overturned because you can't see.
Well, exactly, and they ruled it on the field, so we have to occasionally trust that the ruling on the field was correct.
Yeah,
because he did fumble the snap. Did he ever even get the handle on the ball?
Well, to me, it looked like the ball was in the crook of his arm, pushed against his body when he cracked the plane.
Well, the rest of us, we're never going to resolve this debate.
No, but I'm just saying, it's just...
But Kaepernick whined about it, as he whines about every loss. It's never been Kaepernick's fault for a loss.
But here's what I could see out of the Niners this week. Whenever they get in a hole and looks like they're dead, they run the ball with Gore. They get back to what has been successful the last 3 years. Run with Gore and fucking do the pistol with fucking Kaepernick and let him run.
Yeah, and that's why I don't want to bet this.
No.
We'll keep it in the mix.
No, we're not. I've talked myself out of it. This is what they do in the play. They're going to go to their playoff game plan. Last year, they kept it in their back pocket till Seattle and let fucking Kaepernick run. They can't wait this year.
And there's
if they lose this game, they're not
way
making
on
the playoffs.
Planet, New Orleans gets 8 sacks.
And they're not. If the Niners lose this game, the playoffs are over. This is a playoff game for them.
Much as I like New Orleans and New Orleans at home, I'm tempted to take the Niners and the points and call this a 3-point game. And I don't want to bet this, but you know what? You talked me into it too. I'm taking the Niners.
Come back to me
betting game. Okay.
I'm just. I was on the Saints and I talked myself into this Niners.
No,
but this is what Harbaugh does. This is what he does. When they get in trouble, they go back to that. They're trying to make Kaepernick a pocket passer and more of a quarterback. But when they need a win, he'll rush for 100 yards on fucking Sunday.
And we discussed that New Orleans has had defensive success recently by playing more or less a zone. I think if Kaepernick gets any protection, which if they're not blitzing him, he should, he can carve apart a zone.
And Crabtree and Davis are great against his zone. So is Bolden.
Yep.
They're all possession receivers.
Most importantly, maybe.
But they're all possession receivers.
It'll be 3rd and 9, and Bolden's the master currently in the league of getting 9.1 yards.
Yeah, so...
No,
put me down for San Francisco as well.
Okay. Next game up, we cannot bet.
Nor would we want to.
Your football Sunday. Tennessee is back. And they are plus 9.5 at Baltimore.
Ravens, please. They lost to Houston by 20 at home. And although Baltimore's defensive backfield's in a mess because of injury, rookie quarterback against that defense with an offensive line that struggled all year with penalties. The whole offensive line, and I believe in the last couple of games, each one of them has had at least one penalty in the game. It's not going to get any better against that against Nada and those guys. I'm betting against Tennessee every game this year until proven otherwise.
I've taken a couple of Tennessees and gotten the covers, but this is not one where I like the
Washington.
cover. I actually I still think Baltimore's overall a pretty good football team that got hurt at the one place they couldn't afford to get hurt in the secondary. Jimmy Smith is huge, underrated cornerback. And if you don't believe me, just look at how their pass defense has fared since his injury.
And Tennessee hasn't been able to run the ball. So with a rookie quarterback and you can't run the ball, it's not looking good. The numbers he put up against Houston was garbage numbers in the second half for the 299 yards. We can't stop the run. We're weak against the pass. Can't really stop that either. If you have Steve Smith in your fantasy, start him. He's going to have a big game. And I could see this being like the Houston game. 30-16.
Baltimore's got to reset. Plus, this is the week of the hearings where all their executives are in. The team is going to coalesce. I think this is going to be a 3-touchdown game for Baltimore.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we have Denver -11 at Oakland. The big
Raiders
number
are
spreads.
I know. The Raiders are plucky too. Although Seattle isn't really a good barometer, they're not playing good football right now.
No, but Carr's getting more comfortable. He's hitting his tight end. 11 is too much. I mean, I brought up that there were 4 double-digit spreads last week. 3 went to the dogs, 1 with an outright win, and 1 team covered a double-digit spread. I can't bet this game.
No, that's okay. Even though I think Denver's going to win by 3 touchdowns, I'm comfortable not betting it.
Yeah, it's an angry Broncos team. It's not the worst thing on the board by any means, but I don't feel comfortable laying 11 in. As you say each and every week at some point, there are no really good teams. That's why I don't want to lay double digits on anyone. And
somebody's going to lay a stinker. Denver was lucky to cover the big spread against the Chargers. As a 3-point favorite, they lost to New England, but that's not a horrible thing. No. I'm taking Denver, but I don't want to bet on it.
And I'm taking Oakland, and I might switch that, but I really don't want to bet on it. I just feel like my hesitancy to bet Denver on this, I'm almost obligated to take Oakland. Okay.
I was good one way or the other. I would have no problem betting Denver.
I don't want to
I have
bet
no
Denver.
problem. I have no
not,
problem not.
This league, the mediocrity of this league, which is pretty much what you say every week, and you are correct, means I don't want to lay double digits. Not comfortable with any double digit.
I haven't even had to rant about that this week.
Yeah, I more or less did it for you there. Okay.
Well, it wasn't much of a rant, but...
Yeah, well, it wasn't much of a rant, but I
we
covered
went 3-0
it the same sort of way.
week.
I didn't have to say much about Kaepernick. You kind of covered it for me.
We went 3-0 last week with our picks, so I don't have to scream and yell.
Fair enough. Okay, next game up. We have the Giants +9 at Seattle.
I don't want to bet this game either.
Same principle.
But
on this one, I'm pretty comfortable with Seattle.
Yes, me too, but I don't want to bet it.
No.
Because I was comfortable with 15 last week against Oakland. They almost fucking blew it. The fucking onside kick, they were lucky to recover it.
Yep. And this was after Oakland completely self-destructed in the first half. I mean, if Oakland hadn't pulled out the fucking shovels and tried to dig their own graves, they might have crawled out of it. I turned to that game briefly, and all I heard was the announcer saying, Oakland is disintegrating before our eyes. That's how badly they played in the first half.
Well, that announcer couldn't have been as bad as Dan Fouts.
Oh, God, he was awful. I know. I made the excuse that he's in Miami. He must be coked up and or drunk.
Well, can you even call uncatchable when it's offensive pass interference? Fuck me.
Fuck,
that ball was uncatchable. That ball was uncatchable. I'm like, what? It was offensive pass interference. I think that only works against the defense, doesn't it?
The worst was
for the defense.
And you nailed the second pun. It's when Brandon Oliver made the spin move, and he's going, "Oh, well, we'll call that the Oliver twist." That was
fuck. He had that.
That was the second. I can't even remember the earlier one, but it was even worse.
You can tell he had that written
he was
out.
Brutal. I know.
He had that written out
he had
fucking
it
last
locked and
Monday.
loaded.
Oh.
Jesus Christ, he was bad.
And you've been I've been on him for 3 years.
Well, he's a Chargers Hall of Fame quarterback. I've got to defend
That
him, but he's terrible.
doesn't make him a good announcer.
And he was good on Monday night when he had, I know I'm in the rarity, but when Dennis Miller, Fouts, and that, I actually enjoyed that team.
But I'm an Eddie George fan, and he's the second best running back in the history of the Titans/Oilers franchise, and he was horrible on TV. On Fox College.
I admitted it. I mean, when my best excuse is he's probably coked up and or drunk, I'm not really going out on a limb defending. Oh, he was brutal. And
the bad thing is the play-by-play guy he's with is really good. I really like the play-by-play guy, but he's stuck with fucking Fouts. Keeping him on the third team, fourth team, just because of Fouts.
But yeah, that was some of the worst announcing I've ever heard.
I had to bring that up.
No, and fair enough. Though, as I said, my defense was pretty lackluster.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're both on the Seahawks on that one.
Yeah, but I really don't want to bet it.
No.
Next up, we have the Rams +7 at Arizona. I don't want to bet this either.
No, the Rams are... Well, I don't know what they are. The Niners blew them out in St. Louis and then shut them down in San Francisco. And they did.
The Niners comfortably covered.
No, they blew them out.
But the Rams did get up. I like Austin Davis going forward as a quarterback, but it's a terrible team. They had 6 sacks all year. They got 8 on Sunday.
And who did Arizona cover on a last-minute interception return for a touchdown?
Washington.
Yeah.
Washington isn't good. Arizona hasn't... Have they beaten anyone by more than 7? Except for Dallas last week, and with Brandon Whedon as quarterback.
Yeah.
No, I want to stay away. And you know what? I think this number is way too high. I'm going to go with the Rams.
No, I'm taking Arizona.
Okay.
They just seem to take care of business.
I can't make a credible argument either way, so I'm not saying your Arizona pick is wrong. I just think this number is too high.
I don't know how they're going to get the ball to anybody, the way the pass defense is playing. Tyrann Mathieu is starting to play safety again like he did before he got hurt. Peterson looked
like Peterson
as good as he has in the whole year. And remember this, Carson Palmer.
You said Phillip Rivers, completely not related to Phillip Rivers, like 10 times today.
I know.
You have a bit of a man crush? What's going on?
No, I just hate him. Carson Palmer has only played 3 games this year. He might just be starting to get back into form. So
really?
I'm taking Arizona.
Okay. No, that's credible. I didn't realize that it was that low. I mean, I knew that...
Well, he started against the Chargers.
I knew that Stanton came in that Giants game.
Started against the Chargers, and then came back against Philly and this last game against Dallas.
And, they lost Stanton in that Denver game, and they had, a work project in who was, went 1 for 8. And nothing. I still think they could have at least covered, because we had them to cover against Denver. Yeah. They could have covered with Drew Stanton playing.
Yeah. And with Palmer playing. So, because he's only played 3 games. So
that's interesting. Okay. Next game up, we have Chicago +7 at Green Bay. I'm the underdog guy right now, but I really like Green Bay in this. Yeah,
me too. Green Bay
Mike
at home's
McCarthy,
a different team too.
Who I think is not a good coach. We've had this discussion before. It's easy to be a great coach when you've got... again, ask Shanahan about how good a coach you are when you have John Elway versus everybody else.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy is 8-0 against the spread off the bye week.
Okay, I'm sold. I was on this game before that stat, but yeah, the Chicago's awful.
And
I don't see them getting any better.
And I like the idea of the nerd head coach, but I think we're starting to see why the nerd head coach doesn't exist that much.
Yeah, but I thought that about Philbin, and he's got Miami playing some of the best football in the AFC right now.
Well, it may take a while, but I think Chicago would be mad to fire Trestman, but he's got to hire good lieutenants.
But the talent isn't there.
Not on defense, certainly.
No, and they put their fucking hopes on Cutler. When McCown
signed that extension last year, you heard me fucking cursing that up and fucking down.
McCown played better in that offense than Cutler has.
Cutler's
with the same weapons.
Ryan Fitzpatrick with more talent, but the same guy.
He's this era's Jeff George. All the tools in a 7-cent fucking head. And
I think we're both right here.
I was all for the shit he got when he got hurt and didn't play against the Packers in the playoffs. That was unfair. But he's done nothing. Guy. Yeah, but he's done nothing to show me that he's an elite quarterback. He can make some of the best plays you'll ever see, and then he does, like you said, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
And Alshon Jeffrey was an utter afterthought when Cutler was quarterback. It was when McCown came in that suddenly Alshon Jeffrey, who's still underutilized, it was McCown who realized, you can just throw jump balls, and this fucking monster of an athlete will go up and get them and muscle them away from 5 guys.
But Cutler's not even getting the ball to Marshall anymore.
No, well, they had a tiff. Yeah, Cutler's a fuck up.
The only thing they have going for him right now is Forte's having a really good year.
Again. Yeah, no, and both defenses are pretty atrocious, but let's get down to it. Aaron Rodgers, Jay Cutler. I have no doubt. 7 is about as much as I want to lay on any team this year.
Yeah.
But I feel good about laying 7 on Green Bay.
And they're begging you to take the Bears. It's +7, they're +100. They're giving you some juice to take that 7.
Yeah, so, and it is Green Bay at home, and Aaron Rodgers, I'm assuming when he went to the bench, didn't do much rehab, that hammy that fucked us in New Orleans.
Yeah,
is okay. I mean, that could turn on us. That's the one wild card here.
But I don't even know how they. I still don't even know how they stop Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb with Rodgers at 80%. Even if it's still bugging them a little bit, I don't know how they stop them.
Chicago has no pass rush to speak of. 2 shitty defenses, but I even think Green Bay's shitty defense is better than Chicago's shitty defense.
Yeah.
No, I like this game. This is almost a certainty.
And have you heard anything out of, who's a defensive lineman that went from Minnesota to Chicago?
Jared Allen.
Yeah, have you heard anything about him? I'm beginning to think he was a product of the Minnesota defense versus what he was doing for the Minnesota defense.
He's just old because he was actually devastating when he was with Kansas City before he went to Minnesota.
No. But last year in Minnesota, he had a good year.
Oh, yeah, no.
And Minnesota's defense is still playing pretty well, and he's gone.
I think he just ran out. I think he's just too old. But
he has no help.
Oh,
you still need some other guys occupied.
Absolutely, because if you get double or triple teamed. But he was devastating when he played for Kansas City. Devastating. Trust me, as a Chargers fan, I was well aware of Jared Allen before he was in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he's just done. Whereas Julius Peppers is certainly not what he was, but I don't quite think he's done yet.
No.
Jared, mind you, Julius Peppers is such a fucking freak athlete that until, he could turn into the next James Harrison, retire for a couple of years, someone brings him in a super specialized role, and he might be productive.
Yeah.
He's an amazing
and it's a revenge
guy
game
to
for
watch.
him, too.
Yeah.
So.
No, love that one. And the Monday Nighter, Carolina +6 at Philly.
If Nick Foles wasn't hurt, we'd be betting this game, too.
Yeah, but if Nick Foles wasn't hurt, the spread would be 11.
Well, 9. Probably 9 or 10.
I'm calling it 11. Sanchez is a giant flag.
But that offense didn't look
we're
any
not
different.
betting this. Let's just establish that right now.
But I watched a lot of that game. What they did on offense was no different than what they did with Foles. Nothing.
And I cursed about this to you that fucking when Sanchez came in, oh, it's so hard to be a backup in a Kelly system. And I'm going, no. He cycled through quarterbacks the way I changed my fucking shorts when he was a college coach. Like, all of his backups, because his system kills quarterbacks.
But that wasn't... His system didn't kill Foles. It was his own stupidity.
No, I'm not saying that Chip Kelly injured Foles, but the fact is Chip Kelly knows that his system requires a backup who's ready to go in. He stated as much in Oregon, right? He's going, I don't expect any quarterback who starts the season to finish the season. So it's all about preparation for the backup. Like, it was just so factually wrong and stupid. And they were trying to say, oh, Sanchez is a genius because he's only had 3 months to learn this system. Like, fuck off. Sorry, it pissed me off. It was just factually incorrect.
Carolina's defense has been fairly abysmal recently. And McCoy's running again like he did last year. They figured out their running game.
Well, and they're getting more and more people back every week at O-line. I mean, they lost their guard.
They lost Harriman.
Torn bicep. But the O-line, which had like 1, maybe 2 legitimate starters on it for most of that period where the defense was winning on bizarre return touchdowns.
Well,
but the O-line in Philly is, I think, going into this game, the healthiest they've been since week 1.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think they'll take a step back offensively in this game. The only thing that scares me, is for whatever reason, Cam Newton, and this isn't a big game, but it's a national game, and he has played unbelievable in the spotlight. College pro, he pulls these games out. I could see them doing the same thing with him as the Niners will do with Kaepernick and run, like he did against Cincinnati. That's when they win.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up, was we're going to see the Cam Newton from the Cincinnati game, presuming that he's healthy enough to do that again. We're going to see 22 option plays. So, yeah, I don't want to bet this, but I'm pretty hard on Philly.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
And the only thing that bugs me is that they run Cam Newton when that could throw that whole philosophy off. He runs more now that they've got their 2 running backs in the lineup again, Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. He hasn't been running with the ball the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
So that may not come to pass, but that's the only shot they have in this game is if he rushes 10, 12 times.
Agreed.
But I'm still taking Philly.
Okay. So all we've got to do is make some bets.
Oh, that should be easy. Okay, let's start with the easy one. Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Take Pittsburgh minus 4.5 at the Jets. I don't know what Vegas knows. Maybe it's the mediocrity of the mediocrity of the league this year, that no team keeps playing like this, and they're due for a letdown. But it's the best value on the board.
Yeah, so, I mean, I wish we would have gotten it at 2, but
yeah, I'll take it at 4.5.
Yeah.
So we have the Steelers 4.5, minus 4.5 at the Jets. $10 pays $19.09.
Okay.
Booked. Now,
I
what other ones?
Our second pick is Green Bay minus 7. Looks like we're heading favorites here this week.
Yeah. So we have Green Bay minus 7 at home against the Bears. $10 pays $18.33. That is booked.
Okay, and the other 2 games we had marked were both favorites again. We can't find a dog on this board. We have KC minus 2 at Buffalo. I worry.
But even if that game it's a field goal game.
Yeah.
And which other one did we have?
We had Atlanta minus 1 at Tampa Bay, which is the 2 shitty teams rule. I respect it, but
I'm way more comfortable with fucking Kansas City.
All right, I will.
Aren't you?
I have a lot of respect for Buffalo, but my discomfort level is about equal. So you have an opinion. We're going to go with that.
I would rather take the better team.
Yeah, no, and KC is in my top 5. I mean, I think they're a really good fucking football team. So, no, we'll go with that. And I don't favor one over the other here, except that the opposition in Buffalo, I think, is good opposition. But I'm just fine with KC.
With KC's defense, playing the way they are, and you brought it up when we discussed the game, Kyle Orton with pressure, any quarterback with pressure. Kansas City made Tom Brady look like a fucking joke.
Yeah.
So is Kyle Orton going to be up for that pressure? Their running backs they're on their 3rd string running back.
Yeah, I forgot that entirely. No, that's boom, sold.
Their only offense is Sammy Watkins. So if there's pressure, Sammy Watkins may be limited too. So we have Kansas City minus 2 at Buffalo. $10 pays $18.89. And that is booked.
All right. To summarize, our 3 bets this week are Chicago. Oh, no, wait, sorry. That was a bad screw up. We have Green Bay minus 7 at home versus Chicago. 10 pays $18.33. We have Pittsburgh minus 4.5 on the road against the Jets in a very fishy line and just makes me nervous. But Pittsburgh 10 pays $19.09. And we have Kansas City on the road at Buffalo. $10 pays $18.89.
All right. Well, we've done our best weeks have been when we've been taking road teams so far this year.
And we got
2 out of 3.
2 roads and a home team and betting all favorites. But I didn't like the dogs this week.
No, San Francisco would be about the closest, but I'm not confident in that at all, even though I picked them in our...
We both picked them.
Yeah, but I don't know.
No, I couldn't find a dog, and I want us to take dogs, but we're not laying a ton of points. Laying a touchdown to Aaron Rodgers, I don't hate it.
No, at home? No, and they blew Chicago out in Chicago, so... All right. If you want to check out the podcast, you can listen to it on iTunes or Stitcher for your Android device, on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter at offensivelines for any updates to our blog posts or when a new podcast is available. Follow our personal Twitter accounts at OLinesMarlon or at OLinesBoyd. Facebook.com/offensive lines. And if you want to send us an email, it's offensivelines@shaw.ca. I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlon, and that was our pick show for Week 10.
Fuck the underdogs.
Generous fucking gambler.